which profession is far more enjoyable than most people realize. Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. Lot attendant for a car dealership. It was the perfect job as a 19-20-year-old. Wash and move around brand new cars, fuel them up and deliver them to customers before they excitedly drive home. Lot rodeos were fun if you did it early in the day, where I'd grab all the keys for a whole section and repark them to look organized and remove gaps or empty space. It could be scary driving trucks into the building for display on the showroom floor or on the angled ramps. Not much room for error. I got lucky to get to set my own schedule, and the automated car wash was installed the week I started. So I just worked 4 days a week and spent 60% of my time sitting in brand new cars in an automated car wash. Story 2. My boyfriend used to be a projectionist in a cinema. He would run 735 mm projectors for 3 16-hour shifts in a row. 3 very full days on, then 4 off. He brought home a great pay packet too. He always used to tell me how much he loved it, and used to get so much joy running the films for people. Especially film debuts and packed rooms. The flickering light and clattering noise of the projection room was like a magical land, as I would sneak into the movies through the rear doors and watch everything. All the platters were spinning and everything was in motion. It was wild. Light just jumped around everywhere. Sadly, he was one of the last holdouts before it all went digital. He sometimes gets very down. He's not doing it anymore. A sad loss of a profession. Story 3. Janitor. I am incapable of taking my work home with me, and there's absolutely no way any job can have more instant gratification than cleaning. 10/10 recommend all of you with diminished ability to wait for results to go clean for a living. You make the world better every day you show up to work, because a world with less filth is just plain better. The floor zambonis are really fun too. Oh, and as a university janitor, I'll be getting free college. Anything I want to study, it's paid for as part of my benefits. Instead of taking out student loans to get a job, I'm getting a job to pay for school. Love that. Story 4. Library technician here. It's honestly the hidden gem of peaceful careers. You're surrounded by knowledge and the thirst for it, helping people discover new worlds and ideas daily. There's something about the quiet hum of book lovers delving into pages that's incredibly soothing. Plus, if you're a bookworm, getting first dibs on new releases is a sweet perk. And the best part? Watching kids get excited about reading. It feels like you're really making a difference in fostering the love for books in the next generation. It's more than just stamping due dates. It's about being a steward of a treasure trove of literature and information. Story 5. My brother-in-law is a mortician who owns and operates a crematorium-based funeral home centered around affordable services for the elderly and poor. And years ago, I asked him a similar question. His response: I get to give family members a moment to see their loved ones as they were, one more time. I get to help them through the hardest days of their lives and create even just a small bit of peace and closure for them. I have the opportunity to provide guidance and support through a tragic and difficult process. I already loved him as an older brother before that, but that conversation cemented my respect for him as a man I see worth emulating. Story 6. Lunch lady. I work at an elementary school and I get to chat with kids while giving them TBH, really good tasting and free meals. We get to feed the kids that don't have a lot to eat at home, see the kids grow and learn, be nicer to them than most adults in some of their lives, get recognized outside of school. We don't have to take our work home with us. We get treated nicely by staff. We get to go to parties for the school staff in the Forbidden Teachers Lounge, drink soda in school, something I always wanted. We get weekends, holidays, and summer off. I personally wear cute earrings and bright makeup, which thrills the shit out of them, and the cleanup is pretty simple, and we get to go home after lunch. Not only that, but it's a unionized job with retirement benefits. It's honestly a great time. I also get all the juice boxes and free school pizza I could ever want. Aha! Story 7. Police officer. I almost didn't post because of all the cop haters who will post. But here goes. Police work was absolutely awesome. I spend all day helping the least in our communities and meeting people from all walks of life. The majority of my time was spent with victims. Helping someone who has received the worst another human can do, then hunting down the perpetrators, even if the system lets them off, is very rewarding. I did the job long enough, 24 years, to form close relationships with the people in my community. Got to see kids grow up who gave me credit for keeping them out of trouble. Some became cops. Saved a few lives, hope they made it worth it. Put some really evil people behind bars, many now won't be victims. Had regular contact with a struggling girl who later asked me to walk her down the aisle at her wedding because I was the closest thing she had to a father. It was a career where I felt the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. Learned a lot about myself facing danger. Highly independent, outside job. I'd go nuts sitting at a desk doing nothing. I left when the stress from the management got bigger than the stress of the street. Feel free to respond or critique. But if you can't begin it with, I went on a police ride along. Then you should go on one to gain understanding and appreciation for the job law enforcement does for the community. Slow down. Wear your seatbelt. Story 8. Palliative care? It's an absolute joy and privilege to spend the last week's days in a person's life with them. There can be much more laughter and joy in the terminal phase than many people think. It can be tough and heartbreaking too, but the good outweighs the bad by far. I was hoping for a palliative care response. I'm right now in hospice. I love giving my patients TLC and using my soft nursing skills and my critical thinking to support my patients and their families. It's a very rewarding specialty of nursing. I spent a lovely afternoon at a conference talking with a woman who worked half-time labor and delivery and half-time hospice. She said that her soul was called to both ends of life and that she wouldn't be happy with either without the other. Story 9. This is probably going to sound crazy to people, but I love working in customer service. Seeing different people every day, dealing with different sorts of challenges. I specifically love selling shoes. So many people do not understand how important it is to take care of their feet and to put them in a good, comfortable shoe. And a lot of people don't understand that a comfortable shoe can also be a really nice looking shoe. I have had retired dancers in my chair crying because I have made them feel comfortable for the first time in years. I felt like I was really helping people and I loved it. Story 10. Nursing home aid. I did this when I was younger. It was very formative for me. Obviously, there were the less fun parts. The hygiene care, heavy lifting, combative residents, and occasional removal of sex workers for the wily ones. But overall, it was eye-opening to an early 20-something me. I had the opportunity to talk to residents that had the most incredible stories to share, some from World War II and the Great Depression. I love seeing photographs of them at my age, learning about the active lives they lived, and hearing their advice, even if some of it was outdated. None of them are alive anymore, but I still think of them from time to time. Story 11. Recently mentioned it in another post, but working at a wastewater plant. Anymore, most plants run themselves. They're not privatized, meaning you get city benefits. Raises are frequent. Licensing is on them, not you. You're given clothes to wear so you don't ruin your own. People get grossed out by the idea of, oh, you work with sewage. But in reality, I spend 90% of my day either in the main office, watching monitors to make sure everything is running, or in the truck driving around to check panels to make sure everything is running. If something isn't, I turn it off and turn it back on and hit start. Quite literally what I'm told to do. And if that doesn't work, I call my foreman, because if that didn't do it, there's a good chance it's an electrical error and we call contractors for that. So of that 90%, I watch a lot of Netflix or play video games on my laptop. I don't have supervisors hanging over me all day. I don't deal with people other than my coworkers. I am pretty much free to fuck around for my whole shift. All that matters is that I'm here and make it look like I'm busy when important people, city jobs, so think the mayor, directors, etc. come around. Story 12. Paramedic. You arrive in the morning, check your truck, do some housework, then just hang out and drink coffee until you calls. Most of your calls are not true life-threatening emergencies, but rather helping people get to the hospital who are having a crummy day. The 10% or so of calls where someone is truly dying is an adrenaline rush and where you do some real good. For me, the job involves hanging out with your friends and helping people. Guys get stuck on the emotional toll of dealing with tragedy or anger at people who abuse the system. But honestly, if you treat every call like the goal is just to get the patient to the hospital in an efficient and friendly manner, with no judgment towards the patient, the whole thing just becomes a lot easier to deal with. Busy shifts go by in moments and leave you going home exhausted, but having done some good. Slow shifts, rare in my city. You were paid to hang out with very little expected of you other than keeping your truck clean and avoiding looking up anything terrible on company Wi-Fi. Add in the fact that the best paramedic gigs are on the fire department, which is the greatest career on the planet. You really can't beat it. Story 13. Dominatrix in the early 2010s. This was for an established, hidden in plain sight dungeon in Midtown. High base wage, under the table, even higher tips, great security and vetting process. All the girls hanging out in the lounge watching Netflix, always horror. doing university on laptops, doing each other's hair and makeup. We were always wearing stockings, corsets, or something fun like that. The seasoned dominatrixes were very happy to train you and even pass on some of their clients. Clients were great. In 3 years, I only had one bad client, but that's because I also did submissive work, pays even more because most women didn't want to be bruised or deal with physical pain. And he didn't respect my boundaries. Security removed him, no refunds, no questions asked. There was no sex or penetration. No hand jobs. Nothing. They can jack off, but we don't touch them like that. My favorite client was a young professor who wanted to talk about college basketball while I casually trampled his balls and heels as he was jacking himself. Story 14. Insurance broker. Is it the best career ever? No. Is it stressful as some days when 8 people are calling you for a quote they need right now? Absolutely. But if you can get past the initial bump where you're floundering in front of clients with no idea what you're doing and inevitably make at least one enormous mistake that haunts you for weeks after. One day, some confused old lady will come in on the verge of panic saying the condo she's moving into gave her all these papers full of numbers and jargon and bylaws and said she needed to get something or other for her insurance, and none of it makes any sense. You'll take the papers, know exactly what you need and where to find it, say, "Oh yeah, that all looks pretty standard. I can get you a quote no problem," and put something together right there. You're the expert now. You're the one that understands the Byzantine, bureaucratic landscape and can guide people through it. You're the authority that knows what they're doing, and it feels really good. Story 15. This might sound strange for y'all, but being a stripper has honestly been a very fun job for me. Benefits. Keeps you very much active and fit, helps enhance your people skills and self-confidence. Client interactions can be very enjoyable if the client is super respectful and can maintain a good conversation. Can be very lucrative, and those funds can be used for something else. Pursuit of a degree in a long-lasting career, passion projects, travel, etc. Cons. It can be very physically demanding of you since you basically have to stay fit in order to dance as well as perform tricks on the pole. Client interactions can also be downright weird and super uncomfortable. Some days won't be very good and money earned can be very low. But no job is without its pros and cons, and whether you'll find enjoyment in it or not will always be up to you. Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like more of this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your thoughts in the comment below. I'll see you in the next video.